So in last week's video, I showed you how to build up your know, like, and trust factor, whereas in this week's video, I'm going to expand upon that and show you how to build up your credibility. That way, your launch can be even bigger than you already imagined. So definitely check this out. What's up, everyone? Alvaro here from Alvaro Berrios Digital, back at you with another video, and I'm actually building upon last week's video. I got very good responses from people on both Instagram and YouTube actually about last week's video, where I spoke about what is working best right now for launches. So I actually want to build upon that and give you some additional advice to make your launch even bigger when you're using the strategy that I talked about last week. If you haven't seen that video, definitely go check it out. I would link it, except I know myself and I know I'm gonna forget, but thankfully, like I said, it's just last week's video. Go ahead and check it out. It should be pretty easy for you to find, and it'll build upon this one right here. So in this week's video, I want to talk more about building credibility. So last week's advice revolved around building more of a like factor, a trust factor with your target audience as they go through a launch with you. But one thing you also want to do during a launch is build credibility. Credibility is super important because people want to feel like they're investing in a true expert. It's going to make them feel safe, and it's going to make it easier for them to, whip out their hard-earned dollars and then give them over to you. So how do you do that? Well, you can't talk about yourself and your credentials and this, that, and the other, but when you're talking about yourself, it's not as effective as someone else talking about you or featuring you or highlighting you. So what I'm getting at here, actually, running traffic to websites where you have been featured, whether it's a prominent news website in your industry, or it's someone else's podcast, or maybe it's an interview video that someone did of you on their website and stuff like that. Anything like that can help. So as an example, last week I mentioned one of my clients' recent launches was their biggest launch ever. They got an 18-to-1 return on their investment, meaning for every $1 they put into Facebook ads, they got $18 back. Not too shabby. One thing that we did for that, in addition to using the Facebook ads pop-up group, which I spoke about last week, so go check that video out again, we also ran ads to some third-party websites where they have been featured. So this specific client, they've been featured on Inc.com. Very well-known, prominent website. Obviously, that's a huge credibility boost. So for the people that actually registered for the webinar, during that time window from when they registered and the actual webinars occurred, we ran ads to these people with the Inc. article in it, right? So we just had a quick blurb right there in the ad, and then it said, hey, go check out, this feature inside of the Inc. article. And the goal there, right, it's not trying to get a landing page view or anything like that, because we're putting them over to a third-party website, so you actually can't track them from a pixel standpoint. All we're trying to do is build credibility, and when people see that, like, whoa, these people have been featured on Inc., that's crazy. It makes them feel really good about what they're getting into, and it just makes it easier for them to pay attention than when it comes time to being on the webinar, right? Because obviously holding attention is super crucial for any type of webinar launch or video series launch or anything like that. So the other thing that makes this useful is that, as I mentioned last week, what happens for a lot of launches is that there's this awkward silence period where people register for your launch, whatever type of launch it may be, and then there's a gap where there's nothing happening. Yes, they might be getting your emails, but email open rates at best are 30%, which means 70% of the people are not seeing your content. They are on social media though, obviously, because they saw your social media ads initially to opt into your launch. So you want to get in front of them there. So using these third-party content sites and links is a great way to keep them warm, build up your credibility, and build up that authority factor, which will get them even more excited for the launch. Now, you might be asking, well, okay, Inc. magazine or Inc.com, I'm not on there, so this strategy won't work for me. Obviously, if you're featured on a super big website like that, like Inc., Fortune, Forbes, anything like that, yes, that's amazing, and you want to utilize that. But it doesn't have to be that big of a website. It can be an industry website, a niche website that people in your audience might recognize. It's okay if the whole world doesn't know about this website. As long as it builds you as an authority, then that's okay. Now, you might be asking, well, why wouldn't I just run ads to my own content? I have, lots of videos, I have lots of great blog posts or something like that. But again, that goes back to the factor I was talking about earlier, where yes, you can talk about yourself and share your own knowledge all you want, but it's a lot more credible when someone else is talking about you, because it means they've taken the time to call you, email you, say, hey, I would love to feature you. Why? Because you have great expertise, so please come on my website, please come on my podcast, please come on my YouTube channel, whatever it may be. And so it's a clear indication that other people are going out and seeking your knowledge. So that's why you want to use these third-party websites. But like I said, it doesn't have to be a massive one for Inc. or anything like that. It can be smaller ones, but I don't recommend running ads to, for example, example, your own content, your own blog posts, or anything like that. Now, another great thing is if you've been featured on other people's podcasts. That's a very great way to build your credibility. For example, I've been featured on a number of podcasts before on the past, so if I was doing a launch, I would definitely be running ads to those because I go very deep in the interviews and it's just really good content. And again, because it's someone else's podcast, it helps build up my credibility. Now, you also might be saying, but I haven't been featured on any podcast, so this isn't viable for me either. Good news is that there is a way to, expedite this process. So if you know people that are running podcasts and they have a relevant target audience, meaning they would, their audience would appreciate your knowledge and stuff like that as in an interview format, then you can just reach out to people, be like, hey, by the way, I would love to be a guest on your podcast. I think it'd be beneficial for, A, B, and C. And, if I do this interview, I'll even give your audience a free bonus if they go to this URL, something like that. So if you know people who already have podcasts, then you can reach out to them. But even if you don't know people who have podcasts, there is a service called Interview Valet. Just go to interviewvalet.com, and their whole job is to set you up with podcast interviews, because there's a lot of podcasts out there, and a lot of them, they're actively looking for people to interview, right? Because it's hard, right? You can only reach out to your own personal network so much. After a while, you're gonna run dry, and you have to go elsewhere to find people to interview on your podcast. So that's what this company, interviewvalet.com, uses. They hook you up, right? You just input your information, and then they introduce you to other podcasters out there that are actively looking for your knowledge and want you to bring onto their show. So that is another easy way of doing that. So even if you don't have anything featured right now on third-party websites, you can definitely make it a plan of yours over the next 6 months to make that a priority, either by reaching out directly or using a service like interviewvalet.com. Now, one final thing you might be saying is like, I don't know if I want to do that, because at the end of the day, I'm sending people off to a third-party website, so I can't track them with my pixel, and I don't think that's worth it because it'll be a waste of money. I don't think it's a waste of money in my opinion, because you're still building up credibility, and it's super important. I've seen it work very effectively for my own clients. But if that actually is a concern for you and you want to be able to utilize your Facebook ad dollars, a little bit more flexibility with your Facebook ad dollars, what you can do is use a tool like Rocket Link. Now, Rocket Link, it's a URL shortener just like Bitly and some of the other ones out there. But the big difference is that when someone clicks on your Rocket Link, they also get added to your Facebook custom audiences. So even though you're sending people over to a third-party site where your pixel doesn't exist, they will still get registered into your custom audiences as long as they use your Rocket Link, because Rocket Link is tied to your custom audiences. So any click you get on there, they get put in there, so you still can utilize that information, retarget them with some additional ads and stuff like that, or do specific upsells or downsells only for the people who actually saw your feature on that third-party website. So that's another option for you there. And so that's the advice I have for you this week. So credibility building is super, super important. And like I said, if you don't have any features yet on other people's sites, just make it something that's a goal of yours over the next 6 months by reaching out directly or using a service like interviewvalet.com. But definitely do this, because again, when someone registers for your launch, there's that awkward period where there's nothing going on. They register on day one, and your launch doesn't start for another 7 days, 8 days, 10 days. So it's great to get out in front of them and show them these really cool features that build up your credibility. So definitely use this on your next launch, and I can almost promise you that you will see better results because of it. So if you found this information useful and you'd like to figure out a way for us to work together, head on over to alvarobarrios.com/FB help, and in there you're going to fill out a very brief application so I can get to know your business a little bit more and understand your scenario, what your goals are, and then based upon that, I can let you know what is the best way for us to work together. There are multiple ways. I don't have a one-size-fits-all solution for everyone. I do have, custom tailored programs and services depending on where you are at with your business. So definitely fill that out. I will link it up below, and then we'll hop on a Zoom call and go from there. So that's what's up, YouTube. If you found this video helpful and you want to see if there's a way for you and I to work together, head on over to alvarobarrios.com, fill out a form, schedule an appointment, and we'll see what the best situation is for you and I to move forward and work together. If you found this video helpful, please support the channel by hitting that like button and leave your comments below. Let me know what else you would like for me to cover, and I'll try to cover it as best as possible. And if you haven't done so already, please hit that subscribe button and turn on your notifications. That way you don't miss any new videos when we put them out. That's all I've got for you today. Take care and see you soon.